I-86 After Dark recommends simply the best cleaning services. Call 716-912-6940. Western New York's cleaning and restoration leader. From Buffalo to Long Island, this is I-86 After Dark.
All right, welcome to I-86 After Dark, everybody. It's Wednesday night, February 4th. Of course, it's me, the Ginger Hammer, Buffalo Bob's here. Damien's on IR for a little bit, and producer John, who knows, we might see him a little bit later. But how's it going, man?
I'm doing okay for a little bit, Tom. I got to tell you, I mean, it's a little stage frightening without Damien, but I have you, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's all good. It's the two OGs in the house tonight. So there we go. There we go.
Of course.
Yeah, Damien, if you're watching, man, get well soon. You know, we hope to see you back. And obviously, we know you'll come back in the very near future. So it's all good. Just rest up that leg, man. So, of course, we have some good, fun sports news tonight. Obviously, we'll tell you about what's going to be coming up after the show in a little bit. So we do have our next interview that's going to be coming up at 10 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, you're welcome to share any of your comments. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and get started because we've got some football stuff. Obviously, it's Super Bowl week. And, of course, the Seahawks and the Patriots will play this Sunday. But who the fuck gives a shit about the Pro Bowl? Because I can tell you, honestly, I don't give two shits about the Pro Bowl. I never have. I never will. And, of course, the NFC beat the AFC 66-52. But seriously, who cares about it, man?
Oh, my God. And to think that the NFL is so stubborn about this event that they've been, it's almost like somebody in hospice care. They're just saying, please put me out of my misery. But the NFL is like, no, we have to milk the fuck out of this event. And it's like,
exactly.
And every year, it seems like that the Pro Bowl just gets worse and worse and worse and worse because it's like 1 year it was all about the best catches, best passer, good actual events. When the Pro Bowl was in fucking Honolulu, if you remember, from 25 years ago.
Yeah, Aloha Stadium.
Yeah, those were great because if you think about it, you got to see some raw talent. And if I'm not mistaken, I honestly think that Pro Bowl was the inspiration for NFL Street, the first one on the PS2 and the Xbox and all those games. But yeah. I think that the inspiration behind it is just so unique because for me, those to me were fun back in the day. Like if you're an old school NFL fan, then I would say the Pro Bowl was fun to watch, but it wasn't meaning anything. It's not like in baseball 15, 20 years ago where it used to matter because whoever's conference won the All-Star game would get home field advantage during the World Series. But the Pro Bowl meant fucking nothing.
Right, exactly. And of course, I mean, you saw a lot of crazy stuff in the Pro Bowl back then. And I remember at Hockey League, yes, there are penalties in the Pro Bowl. And then, of course, it's like offsides, 10 yards or whatever. Or so. But literally, the Pro Bowl now is just an absolute shit show. It's like, who cares about it at this point? But, of course, here's what happened. So, obviously, the way it worked out, Tuesday night, 4 Cowboys players combined to catch 5 touchdowns, and that's, of course, including Kevontae Turpin, George Pickens, and CeeDee Lamb, also nailing the final 3 scores of the game, as the NFC came back from a 52-36 third-quarter deficit to improve to 4-0 in this iteration of the Pro Bowl games. Then, of course, in the second half, NFC coach Jerry Rice deployed a 2-quarterback system of Jalen Hurts with 3 touchdown passes and Dak Prescott with 4 touchdown passes that the AFC couldn't stop. And then, of course, who the fuck cares about everything else at this point? But literally, the Pro Bowl games, it's like like seriously, they've like dumbed it down so bad to the point it's not even worth watching. Now, the Pro Bowl in its original form, when you had the AFC versus the NFC and you had a full 60-minute football game, that was actually worth watching. You got to see some cool stuff. But now, it's not even worth it.
Right. And they don't even do the skills competition anymore because, and I was saying it earlier, that the skills competition used to be so fun to watch, like best receiver or best catch, whatever it was, accuracy or, things like that.
Yeah,
like
longest pass.
Yeah, exactly. Like actual events that the players would actually put in effort. Now, granted, they weren't in full gear. They were just wearing the jersey that they played for. But that's what was the beauty of it, because it was like it was in a neutral environment where there was no fighting at all. It was basically in one location. And then from there, they just stuck with what they had. It's like, okay, cool. You get an extra week of vacation just for playing, playing football in a different state in Hawaii. And it always bothered me that there was no actual team in Hawaii, which is interesting, but yet they have the Pro Bowl there. I don't even know if like the Pro Bowl stadium is still there.
No, it got torn down because here's what happened. Aloha Stadium. Guess what some engineers and people decided to do in the wrong climate?
An indoor stadium?
No. So Aloha Stadium was an open air stadium. But what they decided to do with the saltwater environment and the humid climate, they decided to use this stuff called Corten, which is a steel that rusts. And of course, what happens is that it's really designed, the rust is supposed to protect the steel. Well, apparently that is not the stuff you're supposed to use out there. So basically the whole stadium rusted to shit, and that was it. It was unsafe for use, and they have to tear it down because they cannot put people in there safely anymore because of the maintenance problems. So it's like a car here in New York State. You get enough salt on it, it's going to rust out after so many years. That's what happened with that stadium. It basically rusted way beyond what it was supposed to. And they had to tear it down.
I thought it was just because it was old. I didn't know it was that detailed to why, Aloha Stadium was torn down. I thought it was just out of that spite, or they would think, well, let's just build a brand new stadium. But no, they didn't even bother doing that. And instead, Roger Goodell, I feel like the Pro Bowl just got worse after Paul Tagliabue, retired and Roger Goodell took over. Roger Goodell, to me, is milking the fuck out of this event because ever since he's been named commissioner a little over 20 years ago, it's like a rat maze, because it's like you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, but at what cost? Because realistically, if you take it into account, I understand that Goodell has been making the league a lot of money, and I understand that entirely. But what's the point? Because if you really deeply think about what's happening here, he's milking an event that no one cares about anymore. And it's sad because it used to be fun to watch back then. Now it's just gotten so stupid. It's like it legit went from regular football to flag football. Who the shit actually watches flag football?
Right. Nobody.
Which is exactly why it's such a disgrace at this point. And this is why Roger Goodell needs to step the fuck down. He is not the guy for this job. And he's only making the league worse.
Right. He seriously isn't the right guy. Yeah. So to answer your question, Aloha Stadium shut down in 2020. So it's been closed for 6 years now.
God damn, really?
Yeah. And of course, here's some more about what happened. It needed a minimum of $30 million in repairs just to even stay somewhat open. That wouldn't have taken care of everything. And apparently what happened is that a lot of the bolts, deck panels, like stuff that the seats would sit on, were in severe rusted condition to the point where it wasn't safe. And apparently from that point, it got so bad to the point where there was like welds cracking and stuff like splitting and everything else. And they're like, yeah, we can't have people in the stadium anymore. Otherwise, they will probably die. So
fuck Roger. Fuck the Pro Bowl.
That's that. Yeah,
fuck
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. It's a waste of time at this point.
About.
No, it's not. Well, it's only being brought up because it happened this week. Oh, I'm sorry. It happened yesterday. Or it was just like,
right.
I didn't even dude, I was watching that Islander game, and that was more exciting.
Right, exactly. And we had our interview yesterday that we did, which we'll announce in the future, but that was worth way more than watching the fucking Pro Bowl.
I mean, I'd rather be watching paint dry on the wall than the fucking Pro Bowl. Like that's how bad it is. I mean, if it's so fucking humiliating at this point that Dalton Kincaid had to play as a log snapper in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
A log snapper.
That's pathetic.
Jesus Christ.
So
this fucking game, dude.
Yeah. Like the NHL All-Star game and a skills contest, that's worth it. The NBA All-Star game and their skills contest, okay, that's worth it. Even though I don't watch a ton of basketball, I'd still watch it over the Pro Bowl. Then, of course, you look at baseball. You've got the home run derby. You've got the different things with the All-Star games that they have. That's worth watching. But the Pro Bowl, it used to be worth watching. It's not even worth it at this point.
I wonder what the ratings are for that, because it's like, and the other question I would love to know is, why the hell did you have the Pro Bowl on a random Tuesday in February rather than on a Saturday?
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And in fact, here we go. So you want to get an idea of like what's happened with it since 2022? So 2022 was the final real Pro Bowl, which was the actual tackle game. There was 6.7 million viewers. 2023, when they debuted the flag format, 6.2 million. So, of course, they lost viewers. Then in 2024, it dropped down to 5.75 million viewers. So, again, it lost even more. Last year, it dropped down to 4.7 million. So, since 2023, when they started this absolute horseshit flag football setup, they lost over 18% of their viewers.
What about this year? Do you have this year's numbers?
That hasn't come out yet, but apparently it's even worse, supposedly.
Oh God, yeah. I have a feeling that the Pro Bowl ratings this year is going to be somewhere in the range of 4 to 3.9 million views, and the only people who actually give a shit are the corporate buyers who sponsor the fucking event. That's the only reason the Pro Bowl exists. Yeah. And again, what is happening with the Pro Bowl is just disgusting. And we actually had a comment coming in. And Jay actually said, Jay said, what's going on, Buffalo Bob? Is it your hammer? And he returns. And I got the Canadians and the Jets on. It's 1-1 in the second period.
Hey, Jay, I was back last week.
Yep, he's the head honcho of the Damien Mike Rudd fan club. So Damien will be back eventually. We don't know when yet, but he should be back in a few weeks. And what can the NFL and NHL do to attract viewers to watch the Pro Bowl, the All-Star game? I know what to do.
Tackle football and put it on a Saturday or Sunday.
Okay, yeah. So here's my proposal. The Pro Bowl could be easily fixed by simply putting the game on a Saturday afternoon. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock slot, whatever. Make it actual football, not this stupid woke flag football bullshit, because that's just unacceptable. No one is going to watch that shit. And the other thing I should also mention is, if you really want to get people's attention for the Pro Bowl, put the skills competition on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Or if you want to do it even on Friday evening, you could do that as well. I have no issues with that at all. But it's like, if you want to fix the Pro Bowl, that's my way of doing it. The All-Star game for the NHL is very straightforward. Gary Bettman is a cheap ass, especially when it comes to advertising, because if you notice, a lot of the big events, like we'll use the Winter Classic, for example. The Winter Classic hardly got any coverage this year because, for one, it's not on New Year's Day anymore because Bettman is afraid to get trumped by college football. So that's one. And he doesn't advertise it enough. And they don't have the same revenue as like the NFL or the NBA or something like that. They don't make that kind of money as much as they would love to, because they always say, oh, we're getting this and this and this. And usually they say how much money they get every year after each Stanley Cup Finals ends, or like when the draft ends. They'll say like, hey, we got this amount of money, and oh, look at this revenue, or something like that. Like, it's very straightforward for the NHL. They're afraid to lose money off of advertisements. The NFL is a monopoly, and it's a fucking joke, and Goodell should just go fuck himself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then Ed ends up chiming in as well, and he said the Pro Bowl is stupid. No one wants to watch it. And the players don't even want to go. It's stupid. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it was so bad that Justin Fields declined to play, even though he was invited to go to the Pro Bowl. Imagine
Yeah.
that. A shitty Jets quarterback says no to playing flag football.
Yeah, what does that tell you? It's like they don't even want to be there. It's absolute horseshit what they're doing right now. It's just not worth it.
No, it's not. Fuck the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, of course, you guys know we're on all the major platforms. So, of course, feel free to keep commenting like these guys did. And, of course, we're going to take your comments throughout the show. But let's move on to Stefon Diggs. And he ended up having some comments earlier this week that ended up coming out. And one of the things that was interesting, in some ways, he wishes he was still in Buffalo.
Fucking ass clown. And the fact, and you know what's really ironic is that he manipulates his people. Think about this for a minute. He basically says, "Oh, I miss Buffalo. I wish things were a little different. You know, you guys have a great quarterback," which is true, and you know he's a great quarterback, and he's determined to win. Which my question is, if you're talking so highly about that city, why did you leave in the first place, you dick?
Right. Why did you have your tantrum like with the whole thing in Cincinnati? Why did you have your tantrum in Kansas City? It's like, dude, it's like if you wanted to stay here and you actually wanted to be here, you would have stayed here. It's that easy. But instead, you decide to go to Houston, you decide to go to the Patriots, and now you're going to be in the Super Bowl this Sunday. So shut the fuck up.
Yeah, really. And you know what? Divas hardly ever win. And Stefon is, and you know what? I think the only reason he's saying this is because he's finally at the dance, because he said Drake May was his guy earlier this year. And he says, "Oh, I love Josh Allen." I'm like, bitch, you threw a fit with him in the playoffs against the Bengals a couple years ago. So don't lecture everybody about this, "Oh, I missed Buffalo" mentality. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, on top of it, one of the other stories that ended up coming out is that, of course, the Seattle Seahawks are going to go up on the sale block because the team is going to be sold after the Super Bowl. And, of course, it's interesting now because, A, who knows who's going to buy it? B, Seattle is worried because now they don't want a repeat of what happened with the Seattle Sonics when they ended up relocating from Seattle to Oklahoma City almost 10 years ago. So it's one of those things. I don't think the Seahawks would relocate out of there because it's just, you know, it's a football city. We were there last year. I mean, it was a great city. And it's one of the trips I will remember for a long time because of the fact of all the great things that are there. I mean, people are really nice. Obviously, you know, we got to see a ton of things, which, by the way, if you want to see what happened on the Seattle trip last year, go to our I-86 network page on YouTube and you can watch Road to 32 Seattle. We have 3 episodes on there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Seattle Kraken, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Vancouver Canucks. That was a great trip. That was a great trip.
Yeah, Seattle was great. Vancouver was a lot of fun. You know, it was literally, well, Seattle was definitely on our bucket list for a long time. Vancouver was one of the places I always wanted to visit in Canada as one of the major cities, which, of course, we've been to Toronto before. I know Bob's been there at least. He's been there twice with me, and I think he's been there before on his own, too. So it's one of those things, you know. Now the next thing is Montreal at some point, if we can make that happen, which if we can, hey, there we go. You go to like 3 of the largest cities in Canada.
Absolutely. But I will say is that it would be a hell of a trip. But Brady Henderson from ESPN Seattle is reporting that the Seattle Seahawks will go up for sale after Super Bowl 60, and they could set a record for an NFL team. The estimated price, $7 to $8 billion, according to a rival team executive.
That's absolutely insane what the market value is for that team.
Mm-hmm. And you know what, too? I forget her name, but she's now the majority owner after the late Paul Allen, who was the original owner. Mm-hmm. He passed away a few years ago. And then now she's taking all his inhabitants, including the Seahawks. And it's kind of like reminds me of like with Ralph Wilson when he passed away and then his wife took over for a little bit. And she's like, I don't want anything to do with the Bills at this point. So I think she wants to spend time with her family and not really worry about the Seahawks. But if she ends up winning a Super Bowl before she sells the team, that's honestly a huge, ride into the sunset.
She's gonna be making bank on that. So it's Jody Allen who is the executor and chair ever since Paul Allen died, and the interesting part of it is that she's controlled the team since 2018 as a majority owner based on the trust. But she also has been managing the NBA's Portland Trailblazers because Paul Allen owned that team. So it's one of those deals where they're saying, of course, anywhere from $7 to $8 billion that they could get. And what happens is the NFL mandates a single controlling owner. So that's why they're pressuring the sale to happen. But what she's actually done, and to Jody Allen's credit, she's actually kept her hands off. She's like, let me have the football people take care of it. I don't want anything to do with it. It's just, hey, I own it. It's fine. But let the football people take care of it. So it's actually an interesting situation because right now it's owned by an estate of a dead person and not an actual individual, which is unusual. So of course the NFL wants something to happen as quickly as possible.
I think what's happening is that you mentioned Jody Allen wants to sell the team. What I think the NFL is going to try to do is they're going to try to pursue somebody that's within the city who has a lot of money to buy the team, because I think if you're selling a potential Super Bowl champion to a new owner, it's kind of like what happened with what the fuck is his name? I'm trying to think who won a Super Bowl. I think it was Jerry Jones, where I think the Cowboys were getting up and running and they were bad for a little while. That Jerry Jones won the Super Bowl and all that stuff. I don't really know. There's been a bunch of other owners in the NFL, but I think Jerry Jones was one of them, where he fired, he fired Tom Landry and he pretty much got rid of everybody, Herschel Walker, and then hired Jimmy Johnson. I feel like that's happening here in that situation where I guess the NFL wants to get the right person to buy the team, and then from here on out. That's my guess. I don't really know for sure.
It very well could happen, and here's one big thing that I would not be surprised if it happens. Guess what major company that a lot of people love to hate is based in Seattle?
Microsoft?
Well, besides them.
I don't know who.
Amazon.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and who owns the Kraken?
Amazon.
Well, they've got the naming rights. And of course, we all know what they did. Instead of naming it directly after Amazon, of course, Bezos with Amazon was like, let's name it Climate Pledge Arena with all the natural walls that we have to put signage on the wall to tell people not to eat. Remember that? It's like, don't eat the plant walls.
Yeah, it said, please do not eat the plants. It's not edible.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, it's a fucking wall. But although, if you guys do check out our previous Road to 32 episode, Seattle Kraken edition, one of the things we will tell you, that was a fun arena to go to. It really was. I mean, I have it ranked easily top 3.
I agree. Well, I would say for me, I've been to a lot of NHL stadiums, but Climate Pledge was a unique stadium for sure.
It was. Yeah, it's like, who would have thought you go from street level into the basement to get your seats? It's like literally you're going underground.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Jeff Bezos is really that prideful about buying the team, there's nothing stopping him. Because I remember he wanted to buy the Commanders a few years ago.
Yeah.
And he backed out and went to Josh Harris. Remember the whole thing with the Buffalo Bills? I think there was a bunch of other people. I think, obviously, it was Pegula, and it was like Donald Trump, and then it was like John Bon Jovi.
Yeah, and he wanted to move the team to Toronto.
Yeah, I remember when Trump was in it, and he was just like, well, I'm probably not going to buy the team because if he bought the team, he wouldn't be running for president. Let's be honest.
Right, exactly.
And as for Bon Jovi, it was already leaked that he was going to move them one way or the other if he bought the team. And I'm really glad that the documents actually came out in proving that theory right. But because Pegula got the team, so there's that.
Right, exactly. And they stayed, and we have a new stadium next year, so, I mean, it's all well and good. So, needless to say, I mean, I think Seattle obviously will keep the team. I don't really see them moving that anywhere anytime soon. But, of course, that's what happened with the Sonics, though, where their owner ended up where the team got sold. Their new owner was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to keep it here in Seattle. And then next year, oh, by the way, we're going to Oklahoma City. See ya.
See, I find that extremely hard to believe because I don't even think their lease for Lumen Field is up until 2037. I'm not 100% sure.
Something like that.
Yeah, I do know though. I do know, and it was funny because I was listening to Adam Schefter on X, and there was a radio station in Philadelphia, and they were mentioning that the Eagles are looking to get a new stadium because the lease ends in 2032 at Lincoln Financial Field. That is one of my favorite stadiums I've been to as far as football is concerned. But
Yeah. And I think part of what they're looking for is that they want the link to actually have more events in the off season. And there is talk or speculation that they might want to put a dome on it.
well, if they do that, then they're honestly pretty fucking stupid. And I gotta say though that I think a lot of teams feel that way. That where if they're getting this brand new stadium and you put a dome over it, you're able to do more off-season stuff. Like the new Highmark Stadium is going to be very limited with what they can do with it. Like they can't do
Right.
concerts. They can't. I mean, they could like over the summer.
Yeah, they
but
can do concerts and stuff, but it's not gonna be like a true multi-purpose like dome stadium by any means. It's really meant for football, and they want it to be for football, and that's how it's going to be set up. But one of the things, and this is going to be interesting, is that when the Bills ended up releasing their December video of the new Highmark, think about it this way. I mean, they got most of the seats in, the grass field is in, so we're all good there. They started putting in the new 4K scoreboards on both sides. So, I mean, which they did announce who is doing that this week. So longtime scoreboard partner Mitsubishi, who did the new jumbotron at the KeyBank Center, who did the last two scoreboards at the old Highmark, is doing the new Highmark Stadium. So hey, congratulations on Mitsubishi. You make some really good stuff. So hey, glad to see you still here. But what they also did is that they have like something like 36 massive speaker clusters in the overhang that's going to force all the sound down on everybody. So I would not be surprised if they try to have Guinness Book of World Records at some point come out to the new Highmark Stadium and possibly see if it can break the sound record.
It could, but it's also going to come down to the Bills Mafia to kind of be that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like from what you're telling me, they want to be like Lumen Field or Arrowhead, but mainly Lumen Field, because when we were there was a barricade that was in between the outer space of the stadium and from where the fans were, where we were sitting, of those two little shell things. The sound would just go up and then bounce back down. That's how they were able to make it really, really loud, which I think is very scientific. But for me, from what you're saying, that's exactly what they want to do with the new Bill Stadium, because Buffalo is just a very passionate city when it comes to their fans. But like, we just have to see how the new stadium works, because it's going to be tough to do that in the preseason, but in the regular season, that's going to be a completely different ball game.
Oh yeah, and it's probably going to be louder than hell in that place too, especially since it has a continuous canopy and not like a split like Lumen Field has. So
yeah, that's for certain.
Yeah, but no, it'll be fun. So of course we've got that going on, and you know, and obviously we'll report on what happens in Seattle. But I will say though, when we did go there, great city, really nice fan base on there, out there, and of course the stadium itself was nice. I mean, I really liked it, and the pregame festivities were really good.
Yeah, that's for certain. We got to meet Raheem Morris, or not Raheem Morris. What was his name?
Randall Morris.
Randall Morris. I said Raheem Morris. That I caught myself on that.
You're thinking of the coaching change.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about Randall Morris. My bad, guys. But But speaking of coaches, the coaching cycle for the 2026 offseason is now complete. And let's go over the last few that I guess you could say got hired. So
Yeah. So, I mean, and we could even take it from the top too, but I mean, obviously the first three major changes that happened, we already know. Atlanta, they fired Raheem Morris. They hired Kevin Stefanski, who was fired by the Browns. Miami ended up firing Mike McDaniel, and then they brought in Jeff Hafley because, of course, their new GM is from Green Bay. And then the New York Giants, obviously, they fired Brian Daboll, and they ended up bringing in John Harbaugh. So those were the first three major changes that happened. And we've talked about those before. Then, of course, Tennessee fires Brian Callahan, who was an absolute shit coach for them in the time that they ended up firing, of course, Mike Vrabel. And then they end up bringing in Robert Saleh, which, of course, Brian Daboll is going to be joining him as his offensive coordinator. Then, of course, Baltimore ends up hiring Jesse Minter after they fired Harbaugh. Tomlin decided to step down and resign in Pittsburgh. Of course, they brought in Mike McCarthy, which we talked about. And I know our former co-host Rob could not stand that hire. And then on top of it, then of course we also talked about last week Joe Brady getting hired with the Bills, which he has actually made some really nice additions to his staff over the past week. But the big ones that ended up coming up, the three most recent, Cleveland decides to hire Todd Monken as their head coach. And when I saw that, I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Didn't he like shit on them a few years ago when he was a coordinator?
He did.
I figured. Why would you? Okay. And the funny thing about Cleveland is I read that it took them 24 days to find their new coach.
Mm-hmm.
And every candidate that they've wanted to talk to all pulled out faster than Phillip Rivers. And then
yeah, Cleveland gave them their own version of the Wonderlic test. It's like, oh, you need to provide like this 1,000,000-page essay. Oh, you also need to tell us like how you're gonna suck our dicks, and you're gonna have to also tell us how you want us to continue to suck ass, so we don't do anything ever.
It's a mess. It's a mess, and yeah. So great to your point is that Cleveland had rumors. There were rumors about the Browns forcing coaches that they were interviewing to do these essays, which fucking explains everybody. McDaniel pulling out, Nate Scalehouse pulling out, Joe Brady pulled out, I think. There was a bunch of other coaches that they did want to talk to.
Yeah, and even Davis Webb pulled out.
Davis Webb pulled out, and he became the Broncos' new offensive coordinator too. So it's like all this shit that the Browns have been doing, they can't do anything right. And I recently learned that Jimmy Haslam was the one who single-handedly picked Todd Monken because he knew that all the other candidates that they wanted to hire all said no. We want nothing to do with you. And it got so bad that it was reported that Jimmy Schwartz, the defensive coordinator for the Browns, who was, let's be honest, was the only damn good thing going for them.
Oh yeah, he wants out.
Yeah, he wants out, and he was going to be the nominee to be the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Then Jim Haslam came in, and he's like, nope, Todd Monken. And it pissed off Jim Schwartz so much that he said, I'm out of here. In spite of his contract, he's like, fuck you, I am never coaching the Browns again.
Exactly. And do you blame him? I mean, after what Jim Schwartz has actually done by giving him a very good defense, I mean, their offense didn't do shit, but their defense actually was good. That was a bright spot of their team. And, of course, now it's like, oh, screw you, Jim Schwartz. We're not going to give a shit about you. So, yeah, whatever. Yeah, you can still stay defensive coordinator, though.
This is why the Browns are never, ever taken seriously. This is why the NFL always finds a way to fuck with the Browns. Because it's like the Browns cannot get out of their own way. Like, it's so bad over there.
It is. It is. And then, on top of it, then, of course, Arizona hired Mike LaFleur to replace Jonathan Gannon, which, okay, that's actually an upgrade. And then Vegas, of course, it was speculated Clint Kubiak, which I know I would have loved to have him here. I know you would have loved to have him here. But they did pull the trigger. He replaces Pete Carroll. But here's probably one of the worst hires that happened. Of course, and John would probably have a shit fit about this. The New York Giants' new offensive coordinator.
Matt Nagy.
Yes.
Matt Nagy is the new OC in Giantland. And I can tell you from personal experience, a lot of my buddies who are Giants fans are telling me that they are fucking pissed because they thought that they were going to get a legit shot at Cliff Kingsbury. And it looked like at the time it was going to be a great hire. And all of a sudden, Cliff Kingsbury said, no, I don't want to do this. And I forget why, but he stepped away from that position. Maybe he didn't want to do it. I don't know. But they went with Matt Nagy as the OC because I guess that was their plan B or plan Z or whatever. But Cliff Kingsbury was definitely somebody that they wanted to talk to. And he ended up saying, no, I don't want this job. But then in Philly, they hired Sean Mannion, who was the Green Bay Packers quarterback coach.
Yeah. and guess where good old guess where the good old shit quarterback coach Nate Hackett went to?
Arizona, as I
Yes.
believe the quarterback's coach.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God. Oh my fucking God.
They're gonna need an exorcism over there.
Yeah, but you know what though? To Buffalo's credit, they brought in their own coordinators, and they've been making headlines too.
Yeah, Pete Carmichael Jr.
Yeah,
the big one, and then of course we end up raiding Denver for their DC.
Yep, Jim Leonhard is back in Buffalo for his third stint, but
Yes,
this
he
time
is.
as a coach.
Yes, he is. And you know what? It's going to be interesting to see what they do with the defense because, I mean, what happens, Jim Leonhard typically runs a 3-4 or a hybrid 3-4, which then brings us back similar to what Rex Ryan had when he was here. And then, of course, we know Jim Schwartz ran a 4-3. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the personnel and how they use the linebackers and of course, work with some of the coverages. But they are going to run a lot more screens. And I almost thinking they're going to run a lot more blitz packages and different spy packages as well. But it'll be interesting because Leonard's run some really good defenses over the years.
Well, I think so. I mean, at that point, you know, it's going to be very interesting how this plays out because at the end of the day, you know, I like what Brady's doing. He's bringing in guys who have experience and then could give their second thoughts on those things. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's the little things like that. Like, Brady is still the wild card, in my opinion, but I think with the staff, things could be probably, you know, played out as its own thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. And knowing what that Brady's going to call the offense, I mean, bringing in someone like Pete Carmichael Jr., who's going to sit upstairs, that's actually good. You know, he can bounce some different stuff off of him. And he actually got some really good performances out of Drew Brees and that offensive line, especially the year they went to the Super Bowl and won. So the fact that Carmichael's been there and he's actually won it, and the fact that he's worked around some really talented receivers and really good groups of players, I mean, that is a smart hire. Leonard, great hire as well. I was hoping for him or Jim Schwartz, so I'm glad that we ended up doing that. And actually, Jay mentions that Chris Shula should have been the Arizona coach. I would have liked to see him get a look somewhere. I don't know if Arizona would have been the right fit, though.
But then again, just like Cleveland, I don't think Arizona knows what they want to be. And I think the only reason they brought in Mike LaFleur is because nobody wants to coach that team. I haven't heard one consistent name on the Arizona Cardinals coaching cycle. If anything, they're very secretive about these things. Like, they don't like that. Like, I know they were interested in Nate Scalhouse. I know they were interested in Vance Joseph, but that's not much. That's not really helping their case as far as like, you know, who they would want to bring in as like a full-on like NFL coach.
Right. And then there was even the rumor that Tampa would have brought of course Sean McDermott in to be part of their staff, but McDermott decided, you know what, I'm going to take a year off. I want to focus on family. And you know what? Hey, there you go. I mean, I think one of his kids is graduating high school this year. So I mean, I don't blame him for wanting to take the year off and just, you know, not have to uproot everybody and all that. So, you know, and that's that. I mean, hey, I give him a lot of respect for wanting to consider family and all that in there.
Yeah. That's for certain.
Yeah.
But you know what, though? I think at this point, we should probably bring up the cap because people always bitch about the Bills. Yeah, people bitch about the Bills saying, oh, they don't have the money, you know, they can't do this, they can't do that. Well, dumbasses, let's talk about this for a little bit because
salary cap's going up and it's going up to 305.7 million.
Yep. So the original cap range was $301.2 million. Now what you just said was 305.7. And that would represent another significant jump this would represent a significant jump from this year's $279.2 million cap number. And that's nearly $100 million than the $208.2 million cap in 2022. So the NFL is really banking in on advertisements. They're really banking in on endorsements. And the cap is just keep going up and up and up. And people say the Bills are like a little over 11 million in cap. That's not terrible considering like other teams like Kansas City.
Where they have to shed 55 million in cap.
Yeah, Buffalo only has 11 million. That is doable in my opinion.
Absolutely. Restructure a few deals. Here you go.
Yep. And then Ed says, excited for Jim Leonard, best part of the new coaching staff. I agree 100%.
Yeah, great pick. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do with this defense, because I think we have a lot of great players on this team. Now it's just really maximizing how we use them. And that's going to be the thing. And now, will there be a little bit of a transition from 4-3 to 3-4? Sure. I mean, but you're really not doing a whole ton of different things in there. Yeah, there's going to be some different schemes, and linebackers will be used differently. And of course, some of the other defensive personnel will be used a little bit differently. But at the same time, it gives some options, and you can throw in some different stuff.
Yeah. And then Jay just said, maybe you said this, guys, but are the Bills switching from the 4-3 to the 3-4 defense now? I know in Wisconsin, Jimmy Leonard was running the Nichols 3-3-5 defense.
It's possible. I mean, he could run a hybrid setup like that. I mean, I know Denver was primarily running a 3-4, but depending on the personnel, who knows? I mean, they could run some nickel packages. I mean, shit, I wouldn't be surprised if some dime packages were thrown in there.
Yeah, for certain. And then Ed says CEOs don't call plays, so not excited about that part, but we will see. But again, going back to my statement earlier, Brady is the wild card, but I like his staff around him. So there's that.
Yeah, and then of course Bobby April III coming in, being a coach. I mean, that's a nice ad right there. I'm not super crazy about the QB coach that we brought in, but it'll be interesting to see how he and Josh Allen work together.
Yeah, so what's his name? Bo Hargrave, I think his name is. Yeah, so he was the quarterback coach for Cam Ward in Tennessee, but I also learned that he was on several other teams. Like he was on like the Jets, the Dolphins. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he also worked with the Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought he did. And that's actually, I think, where they hired him out of.
Possibility. Well, he was with the Titans too, from Cam Ward. And actually, no, I'm sorry. His name is Bo Hargrave. Not Bo Hargrave. But yeah. So I'm giving you a quick rundown. So to give you an idea, he started his NFL career in 2014 as an offensive quality control coach for the Denver Broncos. So this was during the time of Peyton Manning when this happened.
Right.
So he got to work with Jay Cutler as a Bears offensive assistant. He was the QB coach for 3 seasons in Miami in 2016 through 18. He became the offensive assistant under Adam Gase with the Jets. And then he went to the Patriots as an offensive assistant with New England with Mac Jones. Then he was the QB coach for the Raiders in 2022. I think Jimmy G was there. I'm not 100%. And then he got promoted to QB coach and interim offensive coordinator. Then he went to Tennessee to become the QB coach for Cam Ward for 2 seasons. And then now he's coming to Buffalo to be the QB coach for Josh Allen.
Yeah, so he's definitely bounced around a little bit. And actually in Vegas, he probably worked a little bit with Geno Smith too. So, I mean, he's bounced around a little bit. But that was like the one I wasn't super crazy about. But then thinking about it, special teams coordinator Jeff Rodgers, okay, that's fine. And then John Igoroglu, who's going to be the inside linebackers coach. Jay Valai is going to coach the cornerbacks. Bobby April III, as we mentioned, he's actually the outside linebackers coach, which his dad, I know Bobby April was originally here as a special teams coordinator. So, I mean, that's a pretty good coaching tree for the April family there.
Absolutely. But to correct you on something, because you said Geno Smith, he actually coached Derek Carr.
All right. So it was before that then.
Yeah, Geno Smith was only there this year to the Raiders. But beside the point, So we have one more topic, and then we're getting to the hockey side of things, because there's a lot to digest on there. And everybody loves them. And it's the NFL European Tour.
Oh, yeah. And there's going to be more of it.
Yep. We love them so much that the NFL said, we're going to put games all across Europe for the next, season. There are going to be 9 total games next season. There's going to be one in Madrid, in Munich, Germany. There's Rio de Janeiro. And then you have 3 games
Rio
in
de
London.
Janeiro. Yeah.
Yep. And then there's Paris, and then Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, Munich, Germany. I know, like when they did the game in Germany this past year, I think they actually did pretty well. So Munich, I mean, has a pretty good fan base there. But yeah, Rio de Janeiro was interesting too. With Brazil, but
yeah,
Paris will be new.
And then there's one more around December, and it was just announced 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Roger Goodell said that there's going to be an international game in New Mexico, Mexico City, in what's it called, in December.
Okay. Yeah, which I could see that doing fairly well because, I mean, the NBA has done games in Mexico City for a while now, and those have typically turned out to be pretty good with their attendance. So, I mean, it's just kind of following in the footsteps. But I thought there was something that came out a while back where Roger Goodell wants every single team to play at least one international game a year.
Which I think is just a bit overboard. I think because if that's the case, then to me, he's just doing this for the money. He's not really giving a shit.
Right. It's very true. And Ed actually jumped in and threw another comment in here, and he said that everyone hated that we drafted Josh. So going to give Brady a chance. First place should definitely be a bubble screen, though. Well, he did say there will be more screens.
Yeah, I was going to say it, but I didn't want to falsely misinformation the whole situation. But I guess coming from your words to mine, to your, you know what I'm saying? Like from your words to my ears, that's kind of what I was going to be pointing at. But yeah, no, a lot of screenplays next year from Brady. But again, he has a point because I was one of the people that wanted Josh Rosen. So I take a lot of pride in my mistakes on that.
Yeah, you and me went at it for a while because I wanted Allen, you wanted Rosen, and basically we had some fun debating that whole thing on our old Buffalo After Dark show for a while.
We did. But I think in general, like, and one last thing before we get to the second half of the show is, do you think the Bills are going to be one of the teams chosen to play in any of these games next year overseas?
I hope not. I really don't want that to happen, but then I won't be surprised because, of course, they'll probably want to put Josh Allen out on the international stage. So I think it's probably going to happen, but I pray to God it doesn't.
Well, there are going to be 9 locations next year, so I would think at least one team is going there. Well, all the teams are probably going to go there next year. Yeah. And I hate it. I mean, it was convenient in the beginning of the year. If it was another team that's not the Bills, okay, whatever. To me, those games were like background noise. Like my wife, just as an example, my wife would get up at like 9 o'clock in the morning and wake me up on a Sunday during the season. And she's like, honey, the game is on. And I'm like, what game? She's like, oh, it's the European games. And I was like, oh, God damn it. So I would get up and, have breakfast, and then I get on the couch and watch it with my wife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Jay actually asks, Buffalo Bob, if the Bills make it to the Super Bowl, would you go?
I would give up my arms and limbs just to go to see the Bills win the Super Bowl. But I would definitely be at the parade. I would definitely call off of work, and I would probably bring my son to Buffalo and watch the Super Bowl parade.
Yeah, I know you'd probably be calling me as like, hey, can I crash in your house for a couple days? I'd be like, hey, it's fine.
I'd be like, hey, Tom, can you handle a toddler for a few days?
Right. Well, hey, if I can handle an 8-year-old and a younger one, it's all right. So it's all good. I mean, besides, it's like, hey, my house, I'm only 20 minutes from downtown Buffalo, so it's all good. So it's all right. But I would definitely go to it. I would make sure I take off of work, obviously, but to go to the Super Bowl and pay over $5,000 a ticket, probably not.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so in the meantime, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually go to commercial, because now we're going to be getting into the second half of the show, and we're going to be talking about some hockey, because there is a lot of shit that has to be taken out of context and being blended in. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to go from there. So we'll be right back after these messages. This episode of I-86 After Dark is brought to you by the Long Island Bills backers. If you're a Buffalo Bills fan living on Long Island, there's only one place to be on game day. Instant Replay in Huntington Station, New York, with 56 TVs, 4 pool tables, and an atmosphere that feels just like Orchard Park. You'll never miss a snap. Grab one of their delicious burgers, sink your teeth into their award-winning wings, or try their stacked sandwiches. There's something for everyone. So join the Long Island Bills backers this season and be part of the biggest Bills family on the island. Check out their Facebook group or just scan the QR code in our show notes to get connected.
Go Bills.
All right, welcome back to the second half of I-86 After Dark. Of course, it's Buffalo Bob, me, the Ginger Hammer. Damien's on IR right now. He'll be back in a little while once he heals up from the skiing accident that we told you about last week. So, of course, get well. And producer John will be jumping on at some point. So, but he's got his own show going on as well. So, of course, you guys know what to do. If you want to drop a line in the comments, absolutely feel free. And, of course, if you want to check out any of our older episodes from earlier in the season, go to Spotify. You can always check us out and download us on the go. And Ed actually ends up throwing in a comment real quick, and he said, yes, no game last year, so will happen this year. What does he mean by that?
He's talking about the Bills going over to one of those countries.
Okay. Yeah, I really hope they don't, but we will see. But that being said,
Goodell did say he wanted to put every team there, so.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised. But that being said, let's jump over into the hockey part of the show. And, of course, we've got some fun news to talk about. And, I mean, one of the things, obviously, the Islanders won last night. The Sabres ended up losing in OT. But the Sabres still have their divisional playoff spot for the time being. So that's actually good. I mean, Islanders are still hanging in there, which is a big plus. And, obviously, we'll talk a little bit more about the interview that's going to be coming up at 10 p.m. Eastern. So, of course, you've got some more stuff to watch after us tonight. And then last football comment we'll get in is, Ed says, I think we'll get to the point where all 32 teams will play at least one international game. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Goodell's going to probably get to that point. So that being said, obviously, the Olympic break is right around the corner, which means we're not going to have hockey for 2 weeks in the NHL.
In the NHL, no, but we'll definitely cover the Olympics. And I actually think this is the first time we've ever covered it on the show, is the Winter Olympics. We don't even cover the Summer Olympics because, the summers are off season. Right. But, the Winter Olympics is the big one for us because, this has been such a debated topic since, when it was in Sochi in 2014 with the Winter Olympics with Russia.
Right.
And I think the controversy is that the whole thing with John Tavares when he tore his ACL in the Winter Olympics, and a bunch of other things happened in between with the Players Association and things like that. So right. I think, and this is the first time since that Olympic run that NHL players are going to be representing their countries in the biggest stage in the world.
Yeah. And I mean, and let's think about it. I mean, obviously the NHL did not represent and did not put any players in the games in Pyeongchang, Korea, when that ended up coming up back at that time. So, I mean, obviously it was just regular hockey players that ended up going over. But it is something where we're going to start seeing this year. And you know what? It's actually not a bad thing because the action is always going to be good. Obviously, you're going to have the powerhouses like the USA, Canada, Russia. You're going to have Sweden, Finland. Just to name some of the teams that are there. Switzerland usually fields a team over there as well. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what those top tier European teams do. Obviously, Russia is damn good at what they do. And then, of course, you have the US and Canada, which are always really good at what they do. So that's your core group of teams that you're really going to have to watch because that's where you're going to get the 90% of your NHL players that basically show up over there, in addition to, of course, the elite junior league teams and the elite junior players. And, of course, you're going to have your pro players over there. So it's going to be some interesting matchups, but I would not be surprised. I mean, I think the U.S. is going to make a big run at it. Canada always makes a big run. Russia's always in the mix. But I would not be surprised, seeing someone like Sweden or Finland, really make some inroads there too. That's going to be your group to watch usually.
Well, I was going to stop you before, and I was going to say Russia is actually not in the roster lineup for the Olympics this year.
Okay, so it makes it a little bit more interesting, which, I mean, usually they have been in the past, so.
Yeah. Well, I actually have the list right here. So to give you guys context, because we will give out the information where you guys can watch the games. So there are 3 groups this year. So there are 12 countries representing each of those participants in the Olympics. So there's 4 teams in Group A, 4 teams in Group B, and 4 teams in Group C. So in Group A, you have Canada, Switzerland, Czechia, and France. That's Group number 1. Group number 2 is Finland, Sweden, Slovakia, and Italy, which makes sense because the Winter Olympics is in Milan. And Group C is the United States, Germany, Latvia, and Denmark. So that's your lineup for the Olympics for hockey. And the first set of games is going to be on February 11th, and you can watch them. If you're in the United States, it's going to be on NBC and Peacock, which I have. And then in Canada, if you're a Canadian resident, it's going to be on CBC, Gem TV, and Sportsnet. So if you're a Canadian citizen, that's where the channels are. And if you're in the United States, it's going to be on NBC.
Yeah. So of course, it's going to be pretty easy to find. And it actually, I do have one luxury with where I live here in Buffalo. I get CBC, so I get the Canadian channel also. So I can double up on it.
Yeah, I don't have CBC because obviously I'm in Long Island. I'm in the heart of America at that point.
Yeah.
But
although it's interesting because you go right across the border over in Niagara Falls, Canada, or Fort Erie, Canada, and they actually get a lot of our Buffalo stations as well. So it's like, hey, just because of proximity, that's how it works out. But I do get CBC, and then actually online, I can get CTV and I can get CHCH out of Hamilton. So it's interesting, to get that. But yeah, CBC is on regular cable.
Yeah, no, I'm actually really excited about the Olympics because I haven't seen an Olympic hockey game, at least for NHL players, since Sochi, which was in 2014. I didn't even bother watching the Winter Olympics in 2018 because I think the NHL knew they fucked up on that situation because they got greedy with contract players and with the CBA and all that bullshit. I don't know, but I think it's great, though, that players are able to represent their countries in this such a big once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I think of all the big, countries that are going to be in the tournament this year, obviously Canada is going to be a playmaker. The United States are going to be a powerhouse. Sweden, I think, is going to make a lot of noise.
They should make a good run.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. I could see some underdogs this year, maybe Latvia could make a run at it. I mean,
possibly.
Who really knows? I mean, Switzerland, Finland could be good. I mean, there's a lot of very good countries or a lot of very good teams in the Olympics this year.
Yeah, I mean, think about it in this sense too. Sweden, I mean, they usually pull from the Swedish Elite League, so I mean, you've got that. I mean, Finland, of course, are going to pull from their Premier League, so there's a lot of good talent that's in there this year, and with Russia being out, as you mentioned, I mean, some of those players may play for Czechia, but I mean, Russia being completely out, that really opens it up.
It does, but unfortunately, Russia's only out because of the landscape of politics with the Ukraine and all that bullshit. But yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with that, honestly. But as far as all the other countries, I wish them all the best and, good luck with the gold medal. And that's all I can really imply by.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, and here's actually one other thing I might even throw out there. Don't be surprised to possibly make Germany, to see Germany make a little bit of noise in the Olympics this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either, honestly. I mean, I think every country has a shot to win the gold medal this year. I mean, silver medal would be great. But I think the greatest Olympic run in my lifetime that I've ever seen was in 2010 when the Winter Olympics was in Vancouver. I'll never forget that U.S. versus Canada gold medal game with Sidney Crosby. I will never forget that one.
That was good watch. That was a very good series to watch. So, definitely turn on. It's the Olympics are not that far away. So, I mean, in fact, actually, I think the opening ceremony is not even. It's not even that far. I
think it's Friday. I think
Friday night. I think.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't really watch the other Olympic events, but I will say though I may do so. Considering it's funny. I was talking to my wife about this, and we were in the discussion about favorite events in the Olympics, and she's like, "I like curling," and I said, "Curling of all things." She's like, "Yeah, I like to see the guys with the broomsticks just pushing that ball into the ice and all that stuff." And I'm saying to her, I mean, I probably would watch it if it's open, but I'm focusing on hockey at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and there's some other winter events I like watching. I mean, there's definitely like sometimes with the skiing, I don't mind that. Of course, like when they do the jumps and all, when they do like the distance jumps and all that. Of course, bobsledding's always like been something as a kid I always thought was pretty cool. Of course, you have the skeleton, you got the luge. Curling is always all right. I mean, there's different things, and then I mean, even like every so often, is like I don't mind watching the speed skating happen either. But the Olympic opening ceremony will be Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
There you go.
Is when they're
And
going to
I
show
think
it.
and I think there's an Olympic send off at UBS Arena, unless that was canceled.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. And yeah, the opening ceremonies in set at San Siro in Milan, Italy. So that's how it's going to go, and definitely it should be interesting to see what they do with it because they usually go all out for the opener.
Yeah, the only thing I know is that Lindsey Vaughn, the skier, tore
Mhm.
her ACL. So I saw
She
that.
still wants to try to make a run at it.
Good luck.
I'm like, how
Good
are you going to
luck.
do that with a blown knee? It's like, like it's like you've been in how many Olympics now?
She's been in a handful of them, honestly. And I think she was at one point dating PK Subban, and then they broke up.
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that sucks.
Yeah. Oh, so here. So get this real quick, since we're talking about Lindsey Vaughn. So she fully ruptured her left ACL, and she had bone bruises, meniscal damage from a late January crash. But guess what's going to happen? She's going to use a specialized knee brace and rely on intense physical therapy for stability. And apparently, she's going to make an attempt to actually ski and get a medal.
Good luck.
And apparently the funny thing is some experts in orthopedics are saying it can be done. It's not smart, it's risky, but it can be done. And here's actually an interesting thing. So in the Associated Press, Dr. Catherine Logan, who's an orthopedic surgeon with the Joint Preservation Center in Denver, Colorado, who has worked with the U.S. ski, snowboard, and lacrosse teams, she ends up saying, quote, "It's not unusual for any elite athlete. People will push through something that us normal folks wouldn't push through because the stakes are a little higher." So
Well,
she's
go ahead.
basically saying it's not smart to do it, but it's not impossible. But then Lindsey Vaughn ended up saying that after she did some physical therapy and talked to doctors, she decided to continue. And Vaughn ends up saying, quote, "My knee is not swollen, and with the help of a knee brace, I am confident that I can compete on Sunday." But of course, she risks doing more damage to her knee. And basically, if she blows her knee out entirely, she's fucked.
Well, it's going to be tough for anybody to watch the Olympics, especially on Sunday because the Super Bowl is coming up. I think a
Right.
lot of people are going to be tuned in for the Super Bowl. But no, I do hope that she makes a speedy recovery. But I think what she's
Yeah.
doing is extremely dangerous because of the
It is.
idea that if she ruptures that leg, and God forbid, because of her profession, God forbid, she ends up falling off and she ends up damaging
Oh,
that
she's
leg
done.
even more, she's done. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's not young either. I think she's like maybe
She's
30.
41. She's
Yeah,
41.
Exactly. This
She's
is my
only
point.
she's only 2 years younger than I am.
That's my point. For her to be doing that at that age, that is extremely dangerous. But I give her credit for trying to push through and
Yeah.
doing all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, and for anyone who's ever wondered what a ruptured ACL is, plus damage to meniscus, it's basically rubbery. It's like a piece of cartilage that acts as a shock absorber between the femur and the tibia. And anytime you rupture that, that's a severe injury. And usually that's why hockey players, football players, baseball players, they're out for a year. I mean, because it takes that long to recover. It's usually a minimum of 9 months. And there's times people will never fully recover from it and they don't come back to sports. So I mean, I hope that everything goes okay for her, and I certainly wish her the best. Obviously, I mean, we all do. I mean, she's representing the U.S., so we want her to do well. But is it like the smartest thing to do? Probably not. But then again, this is probably her very last Olympic Games, so I mean, I can kind of see why she wants to go for it.
Well, to me, it sounds like she's just full of pride. And I think that's something that, if she wants to do it, go for it. but I just think that I think she should just retire because at that her age and her body's not going to get any younger at that point. She's getting older and she's just not the same as she was like a decade ago.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's very true. So, hopefully everything goes well for her. I mean, obviously we wish her luck. I don't know if she's watching the show, but, certainly we wish her all the best and hope everything goes well. But thinking about that, going forward, obviously what's going to happen now is let's jump into hockey and the Stadium Series because, of course, for anyone who ended up catching it, we had the Tampa Bay Lightning beating the Boston Bruins 6-5 in a shootout on February 1st at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. And of course, it was the first time that the NHL outdoor game was ever held in Florida. But there is one thing, if people were watching towards the later part of the game, we actually had a goalie fight. Vasilevsky versus Swayman.
Yes.
Swayman got his ass handed to him.
I gotta say, that to me, I think that Stadium Series game, I will be honest, and I've been very vocal about this. I thought that Stadium Series matchup with Boston and Tampa Bay, I genuinely thought it was going to be a big flop because of the atmosphere and the environment and how things went. But to me, I was more surprised about the element because if you read the report from that game on Sunday, the game was in Tampa Bay, but it was 30 degrees, which is very uncommon in Florida, especially in that region.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, though, because when I thought they were doing it as like a joke, I thought that, it's Florida, they should be fine. But I didn't realize that people were that cold in that part of the state because Florida is a naturally hot area. But I will say to the finesse that I was more stunned by the magnitude of that game. A goalie fight with Vasilevsky and Swayman. And then the Bruins basically committing the biggest felony since Super Bowl 51, which is blowing a 5-goal lead in an outdoor game, and you choke it away. How the fuck do you do that?
Right. And then how about John Cooper with what he came out in for his outfit and the freaking hat and the smoking a cigar? That was hilarious.
Oh, my God. Him in the fedora and that white suit. Mwah, chef's kiss.
That was hilarious, man. But
that was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it actually was a better game than I expected. And you know what? They actually took the pirate theme in with the stadium. They actually did a decent job with it. So it's not as bad as what I thought, altogether. And it actually got a few other comments, and this one's going to be pretty funny. So Ed ends up saying, go the Jamaican bobsled team. He's referring to the movie Cool Runnings, which if you've never seen it, watch it.
Jamaican bobsledders?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's true. There is a Jamaican bobsled team.
Yes, I know that. But I think Cool Runnings was actually the inspiration for that movie. The same reason the Mighty Ducks are a thing in the NHL. Yeah. I think that was actually referenced in the show BoJack Horseman, as I actually watched that show, and they bring up that movie in the show. But
yeah. And then of course the Mighty Ducks, the actual team, was referenced in D2. So of course there is that. And then Jay says, Peyton Krebs, what happened to you last night?
Oh, you motherfucker. Yeah, no. And then Edward says, Great Dame is going to be on the chair lift next to Lindsey Vonn.
Oh, shit.
Oh, my God.
Well, he did give a rod a few screws, and he's going to be bionic for the rest of his life now.
He's going to be a bionicle.
Yeah, he won't be able to go through the x-ray machine at the airport now.
Yeah, but you know what? I know something about the Stadiums game. I found out today, actually, or yesterday, I found out that the Stadium Series between Tampa and Boston is considered the most viewed NHL regular season game ever recorded on U.S. cable TV. And then it averaged around 2.1 million live viewers on ESPN.
Yeah, that's crazy. But you know what? It actually was a good game to watch. They actually put together a pretty good outing this time around. And of course, I mean, who would have thought it would have been 30 something degrees in Florida? It just never happens. I mean, I was in Tampa back in November 2010 and it was like 77 degrees out, like the week before Thanksgiving. So they just don't get it. But of course, the Eastern US had that massive cold snap. And then, of course, a lot of places like North and South Carolina getting the freaking snowstorm, just like we did up here in the Northeast.
Yeah, well, I know the weather in like northern Florida, like Tampa Bay. Well, Tampa gets nice weather, but like Jacksonville or something like that northern region, it's
sometimes
like
they'll get a little bit.
Yeah, a little, not a whole lot. Like Florida doesn't really get a lot of snow, and
Right.
and if they did, it would be like very rare.
Yeah, like even Nashville, Tennessee, where I have family that lives. I mean, they get some snow like during the winter, but not a lot. But yeah, they got hit by that snowstorm that came through here pretty well too.
Yeah, for certain. But in general, though, I gotta give the NHL credit because I said it in the beginning of the year when they announced the two outdoor games and both of them in Florida. I said the Ranger Panthers game was going to be a massive flop, and I was kind of right about that because for one, you didn't put the game on New Year's Day. Two, you put the game in an indoor stadium in the middle of January in fucking Miami. What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah,
and then on
the only
top
thing
of
they
all
did is
that-
open the roof, but even then, nobody goes to that stadium anyways.
Well, they only did because it was the Panthers and they won back-to-back cups. But aside the point is that to me, like it can work as a market in general, but not for an outdoor game. That's just me
Right.
personally. But then
Right.
the one that happened on Sunday in Tampa, that to me was like a big surprise. I found myself being really engaged with that game because for one, the Bruins went full Falcons, a goalie fight happened, and people actually were really decked in. Some people were wearing pirate costumes during the game. And I'm just like, because I know about the history with like pirates and stuff like that in the Tampa Bay region.
And they've got the pirate ship in the stadium and all that.
Which is perfect, and that probably explains the whole reason why they put the game at Raymond James Stadium. And as you know, I personally went to two outdoor games in the NHL. I went in 2018 at Citi Field, and I went to in 2 years ago at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey to see the Devils. And I gotta tell you, both of those games were very, very cold, but not like what Tampa Bay did.
Oh yeah, and as our former co-host Rob would say, the good old prison. Over in East Rutherford.
Yeah. And it was just announced like on the week, like on the day of the Stadium Series game, it was announced officially that 2027, I think it's the 27th of next year, the Stadium Series game will be taking place in Dallas between the Predators and the Stars at AT&T Stadium, Jerry World.
Oh, Jesus.
Jerry!
Yeah.
Woo!
Oh, boy. But then there is still that rumor New Highmark Stadium might get an outdoor game after that opens up later this year. So who knows? But it would be fun to see it come back here. And I mean, I totally would go to see that. So of course we've got that. But then one of the other big things that ended up coming up, of course, in the NHL world is the trade freeze happened for the Olympic break. So that came and went at 3 p.m. And there really weren't too many deals that ended up happening. I mean, the Buffalo Sabres didn't make any trades, so that part's there. But Artemi Panarin did get sent to LA.
Yes, we did. So we'll get that one last. But let's talk about the minor deal first because it's very small. And the deal that broke down was the first one throughout the day because the trade freeze was at 3 p.m. earlier today, and it's kind of like compilation for the Winter Olympics. But aside the point is that, there was a trade today between the St. Louis Blues and the New Jersey Devils. So the St. Louis Blues ended up trading forward Nick Bjugstad. He's been everywhere. He's going to New Jersey. He's going to the New Jersey Devils in exchange for a 4th-round pick and AHL minor leaguer Thomas Bordeleau. So there you go. Thomas Bordeleau and a 4th-rounder are going to St. Louis for Nick Bjugstad.
Yeah, that's not the biggest deal we'll ever see. So
no, it's whatever at this point.
Yeah.
The big one that came out, though, was what you were just referring to is everybody was asking, what's going to happen to Artemi Panarin. And if you were listening last week, me and John Blaine, the producer, were talking about this very briefly. And we discussed how the Rangers had to scratch Artemi Panarin because of managerial reasons, as a quote, which is
pretty much, we're going to trade your ass is pretty much the way to put it. So basically what happened, Artemi Panarin did get traded to the LA Kings on Wednesday, earlier today, in exchange for prospect Liam Greentree, a conditional 3rd-round pick in 2026 and a conditional 4th-round pick in 2028.
Can I just say something real quick?
Sure.
I fucking love Chris Drury. I love this guy. Rangers, please extend him because he is such a fucking scumbag. You guys are saying no quit in New York? Well, he clearly quit on you because you guys suck.
And he gets even better. And the LA Kings ended up extending him for 2 more years for an average annual value of $11 million for the 2027-28 season. Oh, but it gets even better. So on top of the Kings extending him 2 years, the Rangers retain 50% of his salary, which is a $5.8 million cap hit for the Kings. So of course the Rangers get the 50% hit. So, oh my God, man!
I love this so much. Fuck you!
Right. Good job, Rags. You're retaining 50% of his salary, and you just saw him got extended.
On this episode of All My Rangers.
Yeah. Good job, Drury.
And you said the Toronto Maple Leafs are bad. If you're I don't feel bad for Ranger fans. I do not feel bad.
No, I don't either.
Good, fuck them. Because you know what? Let me put it this way. They've been so good in my entire lifetime, especially in my early teens up to now. Mm-hmm. The Rangers have always been good, and they've always built teams around Henrik Lundqvist. And now, look at you. Lundqvist hasn't played in the league in 6 years, and all the guys that you had are all retired at this point. And there's no one else to blame but yourself. This is what happens, Tom, when you consistently, and I mean consistently, when you trade away first-round picks because of the idea that you trade away for immediate value and an immediate help doesn't justify the fact that, you trade away a first-round pick for immediate help. It's either it's a hit or it's a miss. You know what I mean? It's like you can't get away with it. First round pick for Rick Nash. First round pick for Marty St. Louis. First round pick for this. First round pick for that. And they've been doing it for years. And now they're paying the price for what exactly happens when you trade first round picks. You don't build a good prospect pool.
Exactly.
And let me put it to you this way. Chris Drury is exactly like Kevin Adams. Chris Drury has that arrogance in him, and he truly believes that he could build a team. And if you look at his track record in terms of drafting, he makes Kevin Adams look competent in comparison.
Right. That's pretty bad.
Oh, yeah, no, trust me. And as an Islander fan, I have to watch that. I'm just, blessed. I thank the heavens every day for the rest of my eternal life to think that Chris Drury is the general manager of that shithole franchise. Imagine my thought process.
Yeah, it's crazy. And actually, Jay's got a few comments on here. So the first thing he asks is when is Zach Benson coming back to the Sabres? Right now, he's week to week with what's believed either as a shoulder or arm injuries. So he's not going to be coming back at least until after the break at the latest. Or at the earliest, actually. And then he ends up asking, is it hard for the Rangers to trade Panarin? I believe so, because the guy has a say on where he wants to go. Well, obviously, he went to LA, so they made it happen. Then Jay says, he's an LA King. Oh, crap, I'm sure he's happy. Well, he actually party for a decent team finally.
Yeah.
And then does Ovechkin retire?
After this year, he's already said yes. But what does that have to do with the Rangers? I mean, if anything, I love watching the sacrificial lambs leaving New York and then bad-mouthing them. I mean, Jacob Trouba is sure doing that a lot because of how he was treated. And Drury threatened him by either saying, request a trade or putting you on waivers, and you can go anywhere. And remind you, when Jacob Trouba was traded, his wife was a graduate at, I think, at University of New York or SUNY in New York City, and she was getting her doctorate's degree. And then all of a sudden, he's like, I want to be there with my wife and, be there for her when I can and whatnot. Right. And then Drury decided to be a dunce by basically saying, yeah, I'm going to do this instead. And fuck your feelings in spite of you being the captain.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say with Chris Drury being a manager, obviously, hey, keep fucking up the Rangers. It's all good. It makes it even better for all of us.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job. I love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that being said, before we go ahead and wrap up, because I know we kind of got through a lot of stuff pretty early tonight. We're only an hour and 20 in. So you know what? Let's talk a little bit about the interview that comes up at 10 p.m. Eastern time today, because we do have that coming up after the show. So what do you want to say? You want to give some clues in terms of who's coming up?
We already did that. No, we did this already, but everybody knows.
Okay.
We did that last week.
All right.
But what's it called? Here's a question: should the Islanders chase Shania Goldman? Probably not. Probably not until like the summer.
Right.
But that's a summer problem. But yeah, so if you guys were listening to last week's episode, yes, we already did what Tom was saying, which is the 3 hints, and if you got it right, it was Tommy Soderstrom. He's going to be on the show tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep.
And it wasn't the easiest start for an interview, but we got through it over time. And let me put it this way. If I had a propeller in my ass and next thing you know, I just kept doing this throughout the entire show, that was me in a nutshell. And that's exactly what happened.
Right. So no, it's all good. Definitely, check it out. He has some good stories that he ends up talking about. And that was actually an early Saturday afternoon interview for us. I remember we had to accommodate Swedish time.
Yeah, and then we actually have another one in the end of the month, but we're not going to say who it is, but we have another one on a Friday at 3 p.m. So we'll see where that goes. And then, so just a quick heads up, we're not saying who it is because we like to keep the suspense for you guys. Mm-hmm. But we actually got a tip from somebody the other day. We're not going to fully reveal it yet, but we're kind of keeping you guys on limb a little bit. We're not going to say who it is because we're working on a deal with him. And whoever this player is, because we know who it is this guy played in the NHL for about 10, 13 years. We might be getting him as a member of our team, as a co-host for 86 After Dark. We're not going to say who it is because, well, that's blowing our cover.
Right. Or possibly a contributor, or we may be featuring some new content that he would be doing, but he is actually one of our upcoming interviews that'll be here in the very near future as well. We got a chance to talk with him last night. Really great conversation. Awesome guy. And a lot of fun on that interview. We had a good time for almost an hour and a half.
Yeah, it was a very good interview overall. I definitely enjoyed it. And you know what? At the end of the day, it was just a very good overall time, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and and if he decides to join in any capacity, hey, that's great. We're looking forward to it, but we'll see what happens. But we're not going to really say much more than that because we do not have anything official as of yet.
Yeah. Well, there is one more piece of news I do want to go over with you.
Sure.
And I don't know if you exactly saw this, but this came out today about 5:30 in the evening. I don't know if you saw it, but it revolved around Gavin McKenna.
Oh, yeah. So his dumbass might be going to prison for 20 years.
Yeah, so Gavin McKenna, the obvious projected first overall pick in the 2026 NHL Draft, the prophecy of Connor McDavid, has been charged with a felony aggravated assault, a misdemeanor simple assault, and 2 summary offenses. And if he is found guilty, McKenna faces up to 20 years in prison on a felony charge alone. Because, mind you, he's 18. And McKenna had allegedly been at a downtown bar with friends and family and allegedly broke the jaw of an unidentified individual, which it turns out that the person he punched was a minor. a 17-year-old kid. And the story is McKenna, I think they played that Saturday at in Penn State University. They had a game. I think they lost, and somebody, I think he was with his mother, something like that, because it said friends and family. And they were at the bar, and this kid started bad-mouthing him. And all of a sudden, he's talking about his mom, calling her a whore, which is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And then McKenna punched this kid so hard that it broke his jaw. And it got to a point where this came out.
Yeah, not smart on his part. And even and of course, it's viral once it hits TMZ. So of course that ended up happening. But as anyone knows, for the 2026 NHL draft, he is widely projected to be the number 1 pick. But who knows what's going to happen now, because the Pennsylvania court docket has him charged. He's charged as an adult. So if he actually ends up getting convicted of these charges, he's fucked. I mean, there's his NHL career goodbye right in the midst of everything. But yeah, being charged with aggravated assault for attempting to cause serious bodily injury or causing injury with extreme indifference, along with misdemeanor assault and other charges, as we mentioned. So basically what happened, that was with the first ever game at Beaver Stadium. And there are still some details that are yet to come out, but at least one person had a broken jaw. And Onward State, the Penn State student-run website, first reported it. So good job, Kevin McKenna. You just fucked your draft value.
Well, this is also a bad thing if you're a Ranger fan, because remember, you're in the bottom of the. Yeah, imagine that. You're so shit that the player that you want to tank for most likely would be going to prison for the next 20 years. I mean, was it a stupid mistake?
Have no NHL career at all.
Well, he's like, the thing with McKenna is that he's so gifted, but that's not an excuse for his behavior.
Right. Exactly. That would be like saying something like Connor McDavid would have done something like that, or Jack Eichel might have done something like that back at that time. And of course, those guys, whether you like them or hate them, they're not going to do something stupid to jeopardize their potential future career.
Yeah. And then Jay says, ain't nobody here a Ranger fan. I'm like, well, no shit. We don't cover the Rangers often, but to me, this is just pure comedy, because the rumor is that Chris Drury wanted a similar deal from what the Islanders got for Brock Nelson. And that was Cal Rich, like a top prospect, which was Cal Ritchie, and then multiple picks, including a first. That was what the Rangers wanted for Panarin, and nobody budged. So the closest they got was what they got today from the Kings. And that's just laughable, because at that point, you're basically retaining almost 2/3 of his salary for the rest of the year. And he just signed an extension for 2 seasons.
Right. So it's like, good job, Chris Drury. You just screwed your team even more.
Like, oh my God. Like, this is just that's just highly skilled malpractice. That's sacrilegious.
Exactly. Right. And retaining 50% of the salary, that's just insane.
What's next? Are you going to tell Ranger fans in another letter, like, hey, sorry, I traded away a fan favorite. Don't kill me because I'm just trying to do my job. It's so incompetent to the point where I get fired. But here's the thing. James Dolan, knowing what he does with the Knicks, I would not be shocked if Chris Drury gets fired at the end of the year, because the Rangers are so bad this year.
Yeah. And you know what? We should maybe let's keep an eye on that one. That would be interesting. And maybe we do like a little prediction. Maybe we say by the time we wrap up the season, which we usually wrap up like towards the end of June, early July, which coincides with the draft. Maybe I won't necessarily bet on it, but I would not be surprised if Drury does get the axe.
Well, here's another thing. I wouldn't be surprised if not only if Drury gets axed, I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Sullivan also got axed. Because remember, if you fire the GM, the coach is also exposed.
Yeah, normally that happens. And the Rangers have underperformed under Mike Sullivan, and everyone thought, oh, he's going to be a great coach after Pittsburgh fired him. Look what happened. Basically, with Pittsburgh, I mean, Dan Muse, nobody thought that was going to be the best situation initially. but he's actually got that team playing pretty well. And we were in Pittsburgh for the Penguins versus the Maple Leafs. That was absolutely a snooze fest in that game. Like I was like literally like almost passed out in the first period because it was that freaking boring with how bad the Penguins were playing. But and even I think in our Road to 32 episode, I said something hilarious. I was like, "Fuck this game." So
yeah.
like,
Speaking of the Penguins, so yesterday the Islanders played the Penguins in a must-win game at UBS Arena, and obviously they beat the Pens 5-4 in overtime. And Bo Horvat had 3 points in that game. And what's it called? Before we actually get to that next comment, he said it seems that every player that leaves the Rangers are more happier. I mean, look at Carson Soucy and Andre Plot. Well, Andre Plot never played for the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Soucy definitely played for the Rangers, not Andre Plot.
Oh yeah, he is glad to get out of there.
Well, yeah. And the funny thing is, I read a report saying that the Islanders were on the verge of getting Michael Bunting from the Nashville Predators, but they couldn't come to an agreement on the year of the pick. And it was going to be a mid-round pick in either 26 or 27. Like, the Predators wanted a 26, and the Islanders wanted a 27, and they couldn't agree to a deal. So Bunting was going to play for the Islanders, but it never came through. But I will say, speaking of defensemen, because of the win against Pittsburgh yesterday, Matthew Schaefer, who has 38 points right now in his rookie season, matched Bobby Orr for the third most career points by an 18-year-old kid in NHL history, and he is now tied and only trails Phil Housley with 57 points and Rasmus Dahlin with 44 points.
Yeah, and it's absolutely nuts to see that. I mean, Schaefer's having a great season, for his rookie campaign. So definitely cool to see that. It actually looks like we've got a comment from...
It's Damien.
Yeah, Broken Leg Damien, he calls himself now. But he said he thought he'd check in for a second before bed. And, hey, get well soon, brother. Hopefully you're feeling better. And, yeah, come back when you're able to.
Well, we miss you very much, and hopefully you come back soon, dumbass.
So he'll be back soon. But no, thinking about, of course, Schaefer, as you were talking about too, Sabres are having a hell of a turnaround at this point of the season. Third in the Atlantic right now, so they've got their playoff spot. As it is in the time being, they would be basically third in that division. And of course, right now, the two wildcard seeds are going to be Montreal and Boston. So, getting that overtime point, even though the Sabres lost last night, 5-4 against Tampa, basically, they still have a solid spot in the playoffs. And, thinking about it, 56 games in, who would have thought the Sabres would be 32-18-6 with 70 points?
I didn't think of it. I mean, the Sabres
didn't think about it.
I didn't think the Sabres were going to be in that conversation, if I'm being completely honest with you. I mean, they're in a really good spot, too. The Islanders, too, as well. But the only problem is Columbus is only 2 points behind the Islanders, unless they beat the Devils tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. But right now, it's looking like Carolina, Pittsburgh, and the Islanders in the top three for the Metropolitan Division. But unless somehow things change, if the Islanders beat New Jersey, which I think they can, and I think they're going to do it, things will change, and they're going to try to get themselves out of it. Buffalo, on the other hand, I can't believe how good they are this right now. I really cannot believe it.
Yeah, they've been solid ever since like those like 3 games on that West Coast trip right before Adams got fired, which he needed to be fired. She should have been fired a long time ago. But they really flipped the switch and they really started playing well. And even the very few games they've lost since December, I mean, they've just bounced back. So that's actually been great to see. They haven't gone on any extended losing streaks as of yet, and hopefully they don't going forward. But right now, the thing about it, in the entire Eastern Conference, I mean, Tampa's number one, and they have 76 points. Carolina's right there with them at 76 points in second place. Basically, I think Tampa just has a game in hand. But then you have the Detroit Red Wings at 33-18-6 with 72 points. And then the Sabres are in fourth place at 32-18-6. Then you have Montreal, Pittsburgh, Boston. The Islanders are in 8th place. Then you have Columbus in 9th, and the Maple Leafs somehow made it up to 10th.
Yeah, but I think as far as the Islanders are concerned, Darsh did want to make a trade for, a goal scorer before the the freeze, but obviously they're going to have to wait till after the Olympics. So if they want to do it, they can do it February 22nd, which is at midnight. So if they want to do it that way, then I suspect that's what they're going to do. I don't know who they're going to talk to. I don't know who they're engaged with. But as far as I know, that, they're going to be very heavily involved. I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo, does the same thing, where the Sabres are like, and I was saying this to you last night private, I was like, what are they going to do about Alex Tuch? Are they going to keep him? Are they going to, extend him? Or are they going to let him go? Like, what's the story?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And right now, I mean, he's staying as far as we're concerned at this point. But you know what? Here's an actual interesting stat. And the good thing is that I was looking at the differential with some of the best teams right now. And of course, actually, the Islanders are a +5 for the goal differential. But in the East, Tampa's +54 from what I saw in terms of the scoring differential. And then you look at Carolina +32, Detroit's only +2, but the Sabres, they were like minus in the goal differential earlier this season. They've actually rebounded. They're at a +22 now.
Damn straight.
Yeah. And then, of course, the absolute best in the league right now, Colorado at 36-9-9, and they have a +72 goal differential.
Well, you got to put the points on the board, because here's the thing, though. They haven't had a 40-plus goal scorer on the team in over 20 years. And the last person to do it was Jason Blake.
Yeah. And then, of course, I mean, for the Sabres, really the only person that's been close recently is Tage Thompson. I mean, he's on pace for it.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I would love Tage Thompson on the Islanders, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, it ain't going to happen anytime soon, but...
Alex Tuch is still an option.
Yeah, unless they decide to sign him, but who knows? I mean, that's still to be determined. But here's a funny thing. So just for laughs, since we actually killed some time, so that was pretty cool. But guess who has the worst goal differential in the league right now?
The Canucks.
Oh, yeah. You gotta know how bad it is?
Wait, was I right?
You are right. It is the Canucks. They are the worst in the league right now. But take a guess at how bad their goal differential is, plus or minus.
It's got to be earth-shattering. It's got to probably be like -135.
No, it's not that bad. It is still bad, though. They're at a -58.
Oh, my God.
And St. Louis is right behind them at -55.
St. Louis is another one. Like, it's crazy to me. So we actually got a comment from Jay, and he actually asked us, which NHL team do you guys think is impressing you or can make a run after the break besides the Islanders or the Sabres right now? Ooh.
Good question.
That's a good question. Okay, so I have one for the West and I have one for the East, just to answer this question.
Yeah.
For the West, I'm going to say San Jose is going to make a run because they've been playing much better lately. And they have a young team. They're getting better. And I think the Sharks are on the right path. I really like Macklin Celebrini. I like what Mike Grier is doing over there. He's really developing a very good up-and-coming team. And, they made the trade a few weeks ago or about a month ago with Kiefer Sherwood. So San Jose, they're really – I think they're getting to that point where they want to make another move. And in the East, I'm going to say Detroit because Detroit, to me – I always felt the Red Wings were going to be good, but it was always a matter of like, would the Eisner plan fully come through? And it seems like this year it feels that way.
Okay. Yeah. It's a good thought. And then what I'm kind of thinking, looking at it in the West, don't be surprised if Utah makes a run for it. And here's one reason I'm kind of thinking about it. Nick Schmaltz. And he had a hell of a good game the other night. Hat trick. He's been playing a lot more consistent. And of course, he is in his contract year. So obviously he's going to really start to pick it up. But then when you look at what Utah added over the offseason, I mean, Peterka is still, playing similar to what he did here. So even though Buffalo made out better in the trade ultimately, with Kesselring and Doan, Utah quietly, they've rebounded from a rough start this year, and they're really starting to pull it up. And I think that they could make a serious run. So I wouldn't be surprised with that. The other team I would say in the East that could potentially make a run, as much as I hate to say it, and I absolutely fucking hate this team, I'll put it to you this way, the Maple Leafs. Because they actually climbed out from the basement and they're actually in the top 10 now. And it is possible if they can get their shit together. And let's say Austin Matthews actually starts playing a little more consistent and they get more consistency from their defense. I would not be surprised if Toronto tries to make a run for one of the wild card spots. But it's just crazy because they were absolutely one of the worst in the absolute East earlier this year, and now they're a top 10 team.
Yeah, Toronto is a very weird team this year because they've had injuries all year, and then it's weird because it's like you can only think so much highly about them because of getting rid of Marner and all that. But
right,
I don't know. It's a very weird situation in TL right now.
It is. And then if it was like earlier in the season, if Jay had asked this question when we were down in Pittsburgh, I like the fact that Pittsburgh's climbed up to number 6 overall in the East. I would have never seen that coming either.
And you know what? Based on the stats this year so far, before we wrap up, is I would not be surprised based on like what stats go right now.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be surprised in April if the Islanders play the Penguins in the first round.
It's very possible. I could see that happening potentially because, I mean, the Islanders are right there. I mean, it just as long as, I mean, Shaver keeps playing the way he is, as long as you have good goaltending that continues to go on, and as long as defensively you guys can shore up, I mean, you guys could absolutely make that run.
Yeah, well, right now things are not looking good for the Sabres because right now the Panthers are winning 4-3 over Boston. The Canadians are beating the Jets 4-1. That was one of the games that was being scouted.
Right.
The good news is Utah is beating Detroit 2-0.
That's good. That's good. And that was like one of the ones where we wanted Utah to lose this one, especially for the Sabres. So that actually does help out. And I mean, likely the Canadians are likely going to win that game because there's only like 2:15 left in the third, and the Jets are down by 3.
Yeah, Boston just tied it. And of all people, it was Casey Middlestad who scored for the Bruins.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it was one of those situations.
Good. And Jay says, of course the Jets are getting their ass whipped.
What'd you expect? It's the fucking Jets.
Yeah. They're playing horrible this season. Who would have thought that they would have had that big of a fall?
It's horrible. It's bad. It's horrible.
Right. I mean, it could be worse. I mean, Vancouver actually had a good season last year, and they're absolute ass this year.
Yeah. Well, Vancouver's a dumpster fire, so I'm not surprised by Vancouver.
Yeah.
Although I did hear that
that was one of the loudest buildings we were ever in.
Yeah, I did hear recently that the Islanders want Tyler Myers. I hope not, but we'll see what happens. So
yeah, the 6'7" pylon.
Yeah, for certain. So all right. So I think with that being said, I think we covered a lot tonight, and I'm really glad that we did, and we should be getting more news leading into next week because the Super Bowl and then the Olympics are coming up, and there's going to be a lot of information coming out. I'm sure of it. There's always something. But I think with that being said, is there anything else you want to say real quick before we get out of here for the evening?
Not really. Just wanted to give a heads up on just 2 other quick games. So the Wild and Predators. Predators are leading 4-3 right now with 3:54 in the second. And the Avalanche and Sharks just they ended up dropping the puck, and it is tied at 0 with 4:59 left. And of course, right now the Mammoth are up 2-0 with 3:57 in the first. So, at least hopefully, please Utah beat the Red Wings. I want that to happen. It would be great to see. But other than that, happy birthday, Zoe. I know that's coming up this weekend. So of course, we're going to have a fun time with that. And as always, of course, feel free to check out our older episodes on Spotify. Of course, visit us on all our socials. Tommy Soderstrom's coming up at 10 p.m. So if you want to stick around for another 15 minutes, that interview will be starting right at 10 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, definitely. So good guy overall, and he was a pleasure to have.
Yep, absolutely. So that, of course, Jay, thanks. We appreciate it. And we know you watch every week. So, of course, join us next week. We're going to be back. It'll be Buffalo Bob. I'll probably be here. Who knows? Damien might come off of the IR. So maybe we'll see him. Maybe we won't. But who knows? Go all soon, mate. In the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.